So welcome guys to week 7 art direction. Right, so as we are looking at the moment is the Trello project management tool, one of the project management tools for free, right? And this is where you set up your project, you set up your tasks, and do your breakdowns so that it's easier for you to reflect on what you have done and how do you want to undertake a project and complete it in a very um, organized manner. Alright, so the reason why you're doing this is to ease your work. Right, so you see the big picture. Normally the global list is where you're having all your task lists, right, set up. Okay, so you have to identify which is the priorities and so on and so forth. Once you have already identified the priorities, as well as your team members has already taken up the task or undertake the task, agreed to, you know, to complete the task by the end of this semester or by the end of this, module. You Once you have already listed this task list, then every sprint. So for now, normally sprint will be for 2 weeks, a sprint. All right. So a sprint is a cycle, right? So a sprint is practically what you can undertake and what you can produce within that agreed timeline. Make sense?
Yep.
Alright. So normally the agreed timeline, sometimes we can be very optimistic, whereby we can say, I want to finish this. I want to finish this. I'll just take the task and then just add on and just pile it up on our back. And eventually that is not going to be accomplished at all, because we are being optimistic and being overly ambitious over completing our task without identifying the risk factors that we are going to face, because you don't know what kind of hiccup is going to come in, right? So what you should do is, what uh, what are the sprint tasks that you can undertake within this time period, right? That sprint period. Alright, so say sprint 1 is 1 week, so you've got about 7 days to work on, right? So within 7 days, or probably you have about five 5 to 6 days. That's all you have, right? 5 to 6 days, because you got other subjects to, and to complete the assignments and so on and so forth. So normally what you do is you break it down. So sprint 1, say this one also you can change it to sprint 1, sprint, you know doing lists and so on and so forth. You get what I mean? So for sprint
Yep.
1, you can break it. So from here, global list, you can also add another list. Here, sprint 1 task, right? Sprint task, sprint 1 task. Example. Yeah. You can also add in something like this, and this is where you doing tasks. So this is doing, okay. Or sprint 1 task. The moment you put sprint 1 task, then you can just take the card and throw it under doing. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so under sprint 1, say sprint 1, you had your UI, the priorities is coming in. You undertake this list of priorities in your hand. Example, right? So sprint 1, you only have to complete this. So if you're done all these tasks within sprint 1, then it's good. But if you have any hiccups in between, then you have to write it down under retrospective and throw this under backlog. Now make sense?
Yep.
Right? So that will be easier for you. Okay? Can see?
Mhm.
So every time you reflect, this is doing, you can doing current, this is global list, right? So task, see every time you finish. Then you got sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4, sprint 5, and so on and so forth, which is adds on. Of course, when you have like another project management tool, a rail, a better one, a paid version perhaps, or if you're using other better programs and so on and so forth, you can have like each sprint will be properly broken down and so on and so forth. Something like an introduction that I did for hands-off, for instance, right? So
Mm-hmm.
hands-off is also another one more tool, project management tool. You have others, Microsoft Project Manager, as well as so many other programs outside there, right? For project management purposely, all right, catered for. You can use that too. So Trello is another. It's more like a Kanban, like a sticky note board that you have. Miro is another one, and I think Joe is using what? Nice, nice go. Is it Joe? Hey Joe, Eva,
Uh-oh.
Eva, Joe.
Yeah.
Alright. What's your project management tool that you're using?
Hmm?
Which tool you're using now? You're not using
Notion.
No Show. Sorry?
Notion.
Notion. Yeah.
Hmm.
Notion is another one. Um, Miro is another one, and yeah, all this other stuff that you can just use. So Trello is quite easy. So this one Trello, uh, Miro, Trello is more so like like a whiteboard where you just sticky note, sticking, and then you're taking the sticky notes and just shifting about, right? The board can be as long as possible, and not as long as you want, but when it's too cluttered, you feel like, ugh, right? So you have to go through like this. That's why you put it in archive, right? You finish this, you add to archive, 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 and so on and so forth. Okay, so you can play around with this to get more, you know, get the hang of it. But what I'm saying is you have to plan your task in proper. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So sprint two task. Okay. So you can also add in what is sprint two. So sprint two is week what? Uh, 9 to 10 example. Okay. Right. See? So this is week 7. Yeah, uh, week 7 to 8, sprint 1, sprint 2, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 14. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So clear? So doing is currently what you're doing now. Unless you want to specifically say sprint 1 doing, sprint 2 doing, and so on. So you can just leave it as doing. You don't need to complicate yourself too much. But this is the breakdown. So you finish this, you agree upon, so sprint 1, this is what I agree. You must finish it. Try to finish it. Because you agreed, ma. So each task in a proper, you know, if you have like a scrum master or project manager who's looking at your stuff, so you are saying, okay, daily tasks in Rail Studio, going to go like daily tasks. What are you going to do? So that's why in the planning, they have this planning phases in the very beginning. So planning is where you bring in all your members into the room and you discuss, okay, these are the global tasks that we have, right? So in order for us to take example, in order for us to complete one level, okay, one level, yeah, level one for this game, right? So what we need to do? So you put out this, everyone speaks up and say, okay, these are the list to do. So what we need to do is we need to have, of course, you'll have the skeleton of what it's supposed to be done. But in order for you to do, like for instance, you're taking the art team. So you have a skeleton. The game designer gives you the skeleton, which means you need this, right? So this is the flow of the game. So this is what I have envisioned, and the art director goes, oh, okay, this is the gameplay, this is the mechanics that you want to have. Okay, cool. So now what we need to do is I'll go to my team, the art team, and say, okay, in level one, right? So what do we need to have? So first and foremost, we need to identify what story that we want to have in this um, level one. So art director and the studio manager, the creative director, um, and the technical director as well as the game designer has already named and give a summary of that level. For an example, right? We already discussed it and we have already came up with the story. All right, that's already done. So the art side is going to cater for that. Get away. So when I explain to you, when you are in my team, I go like, okay, level one is in town. This town is we're going to call it as Tubaldo. All right. This Tubaldo we envisioned. It has this the story of this town. This town will be built with two houses. Right. It is by the side of the sea. It's near the close by to the sea, and yeah, they have this kind of culture around there where all the mini dudes are very mischievous. They have this occupation of fishermen are there mixed with merchants and so on and so forth. Um, they are quite meticulous of over things, but they are obsessed with something. For instance, they are obsessed with gems, for instance, right? And they can be friendly, but they can be as well as they are very sneaky over things and so on and so forth. So you give them a big story. And what is the big what they call uh, I would say identity that you're trying to give is to try to instill is they're worshipping the the duyong or the dolphin of south, right? Dolphin of south, they worship the I don't know, trident of something. Okay, so that's what they are worshipping. So when they're worshipping this, they have this cultural madness and so forth. So you explain to the team. So when the team gets the vibe of that whole you know summary, right? What are you envisioning it? And then team goes like, okay, order for us to do this level or to accomplish what is needed in or what has been envisioned in this level one. Now we are looking at you know uh, the task breakdowns. So what we need is concept art. All right, concept art. So we are looking at the world concept, the level concept. All right, so global concepts. Then concept art is coming in something like, hang on, I'm gonna go and give you a sample.
Cool. Sample. Oh, cool.
Okay, so you go like these are the concept art that we have to come in global, right? The look and feel, right? So art document is already done, and the this is production team, huh? So the production team goes like, okay, so we need to do concept art, right? To get the vibe, so it syncs with the art direction that has already been set by the art director and so on and so forth, right? So then we get this, okay, the vibe of the level. Okay, from here once you get the vibe, you see an exaggeration over the what they call landmarks, right? You have unique landmarks, for instance, and then you have the houses, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. So what is inside there? What kind of journey that you intend to have? What kind of magical fantasy that you're intending to build in? Is it very greenish, or is it going to be industrialist and so on and so forth? You get what I mean? So once you have this, then you do the okay, from here concept. Now we have to break down to the macro sections. So which means each one of these two-door houses, right? It is built in example. This is sample of modular pieces that we can come up with from the concept that we have already looked at. So you see these modular pieces. So what modular pieces mean? How can I reuse back? All this has already been set, right, in the very beginning. So here is where you do your your breakdowns. So I want to have like walls with cobblestone that is holding it and so on and so forth. It also has wooden pillars and so on. So got it. So this is where I break it down to tiny little components like this as well. So you break down. So you need to see what are the other tasks that you have. So for instance, like if this is given, the concept artist who's already been working with the art director, if he has given all these tiny little props that you need to create, then you go like, okay, in order to do this, what is the most you know prominent, or what is the highest priority for us to create this level. So if we need the house, we complete the house first, right? You see this all little tiny stones or whatever, not tiny details. That one can be P2, P3, nice to have, and so on and so forth. Without this P1 of the big monuments or big structure, which is identical or whatever not. So without this, if I don't build this, the level won't be complete. It will be empty. You get what I mean? So if I
Yep.
complete this, in order for me to complete this scene, I need to have this is the main priority, right? Then once I get the big structure, big language, I go ahead and then add in the other details, like for instance this small little drawing, what is it called, clothes and so on and so forth, and then the tiny little crates and barrels and so on and so forth. All this will come under P3. Or you want to have like even this, is it functionally needed or is just aesthetics. So you evaluate from here, and then you break it down in priority, and you pick up the task and state, okay, in order for me to finish this, I need to have this one will take from building a 3D modeler will go like to build this based on the concept given. I need a model sheet is already given. Okay, that's cool. In order for me to do this, I need to do the process block out. After blocking out, I need to create textures if I were to create textures, or I have to paint textures, or what are the risks that you need to face, or you dependencies that you have already written down, and so on and so forth. So you explain that. So in order for me to complete this with texture fully and it's ported to game engine, it will take about 4 hours. Example, agree, done. So the task is yours. You can see?
Yep.
Was it
Can
too
see,
fast?
can see. No, 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 it's fine.
Can I?
Yeah, yeah.
Alright, similar to this. Okay, so yeah, now you get the big picture of how you break down the task and so on and so forth. So once you
Yep.
have agreed upon, okay, I can do this, sometimes you're just gonna, you will be thrown a lot of tasks, right? So you have to do this, you have to complete this within this time period, blah blah blah, blah. You have to complete this, which is ridiculous. At times it's just gonna be overwhelming, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in order for you to avoid um, unnecessary, uh, you know, unnecessary hiccups, or kind of like you burn out or you take away the fun in the team, then the project is not going to be realized properly. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yep.
Yes.
Right. So you have to then, as a team, the team needs to decide, because you guys are doing work, not me. I can say, as a art director, or as a producer, or a studio manager, and so on and so forth, I can tell 1,001 things, right? I come and say, okay, I by hook or crook finish this level, everything within this week, and depending on how many team members that you have. So if it's a very small team, they're going to go like, what? this one week, yes, finish this. How do you want to solve this problem? Blah 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 blah. Without any, a proper planning, you're gonna go like, oh, by the time I finish this, okay, you undertake this. You evaluate, okay, how you want to break down the. You get what I mean? You will do the planning. So by the time you plan and finish, 5 days gone before you even start. You get what I mean? What I'm trying to say, right? But if you have
Yeah, yeah.
already agreed, okay, in this week, what can I do? Here, maybe these black lines and so on and so forth. I cannot give you that. But what I can give from the concept that's given, I can give you the building, right? All the other tiny props, okay, I cannot accomplish now. But I can give you the big structure. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can give you the house, right? I can give you the platforms here, right? Only the structure. So are you okay with that? They go like, okay, so when can you finish the others? The tiny little props. Okay, tiny little props depends on what is the priority. So when you go here, if it's a game, so how do I interact? So if I interact here, what is the main thing that you are interacting with, and what is the main big objects that is going to, you know, give you the initial story, right? For instance, here, I need a barrel, I need a table, and a chair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I need to have this fireplace done. That's the first priority. All right. Secondly,
Yep, yep.
it's like you're buying a house. You get to a house, you see a house. What is the first thing that you want to do? You don't want to go and decorate the house fully. You will first identify the locations, correct? You'll first set up. Okay, this is where the table is going to be placed. This is where the what they call the carpet is going to be placed. The light, right? So once you have already placed all this, the big stuff, then you go in and add. Okay, I put a vase here. I put a flower here. I hang, a picture here, whatever. So you go to macro details, macro, from big to small. Can see now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So your task then will be a lot more easier. So it's similar to if you're taking up any graphic design stuff as well. So for instance, let's say you are looking at mobile applications. Okay, there's a lot
Yeah.
of, sorry, hello.
No, yeah.
Okay, so mobile applications and so on and so forth, right? So not that great. Okay, say you're doing a fashion app, right, or whatever, yeah, an app. So in order to do this, to make it so beautiful or whatever not, you can't just do it overnight. Alright? You can't just finish this overnight. First and foremost, you need to do the what? What do you need to do?
UI.
UI. Before
Huh?
you start UI,
Oh.
you have a process, correct?
Uh-huh.
Right? First is your concept, right? Then
Oh.
you want to know what is the application is all about, you know? What are you looking at, and so on and so forth. You want to build a story. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
This applies same to your web page and all that, right? Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So once you have that story in hand, you're gonna go like, okay, how does the story flow? So that's where you do your, either gonna do on paper, what do you call, wireframes, or you're gonna do on XT, a simple wireframe. I forgot that word because it's been quite some time for me to, you know, not teach this. So I'm not teaching anymore. I don't want to teach. So this one, no, but yeah, just for your information. I don't want to teach mobile application. So what you have to do is you have to do the wireframe, correct? All right.
Yeah.
So the
So
flow.
I think Xuan is calling you.
Huh? Yes. Yes,
Xuan,
sure.
Xuan.
So I got do something also.
You
Maybe
have done something for?
Oh, the progress check.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna check. Hang on,
I put it down already. Yeah. Okay.
I cannot hear you, Sean. Very, very soft.
I just put to done cause I put into the doing, so maybe you cannot see, so I put to done
Okay.
now. Like, okay, thank you.
Can. No problem. I will double check. So this is I'm covering on the process, so you guys can see. Yeah. Can
Yeah.
So hang on there because I'll give feedback as well. Right. So what you're seeing here is you have to break it down the task, right? So first and foremost, you need to go for example if you're looking at mobile application, right? Mobile application is similar to web page design and so on and so forth. First and foremost, you need to get your how do it just came to my tip of my tongue and then it just got lost. Anyways, you get a concept first and then you do the wireframe or your layout designs. Alright, before you do your design is the layout, right? So you see, okay, where do you click, where's the button is going to go and so on and so forth. Right, if you click this, what happens? I go to next page, next page, next page, blah 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 blah. And this is where you do your this wireframe before you do your design, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you click, and then you go, you see the journey. So what does it do? What does it do? Then you move on to the micro iterations, where before the micro iteration is the look and feel. So what kind of concept that you want to have? That's where you come out with this kind of, image that you put in together in order to make the application appealing, right? Then you go for next step. So context and content. So how is the context is going to be, and how is the content is going to first be laid out properly. Then you go for the aesthetics that is going to support the big picture. Make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Then after that you're going to go like the aesthetics. So first is the color palette, blah blah blah. You have to do a style guide, use the style guide, and then after that you add in. So what's the size of an image? All right, if let's say it, you have an avatar for each and every one of you, what kind of avatar? If you put a photo of yours, how, what is your, your location, your real estate, and so on and so forth is going to be blah blah blah, right? Then you go on and add in your, you know your visuals to make it more beautiful. But before that, it should have all the interactions properly laid out. So if I click this, your user experience must be really smooth and not complicated, right? And then you go ahead and then you add on, okay, the special features. So if I click this, the drop down menu, is it going to be big or small? Like for instance, if you're looking at Trello, an example, right? So when I click this, see that this is micro iterations, right? So tiny little animation is called micro iteration in uh, mobile application. So when you click on this, you hold something, how Pinterest and all that, when you hold something, it just pops up with all these tiny little, icons, the buttons, and so on and so forth. Like, or if you're hovering your mouse, see, it gives you, highlights and so on. This is to give you a visual cue. What is going to
Those are
happen,
called
and each and every of this, you know, animation that you're going to add. Like for instance, if I click on this, so it goes, it pops up. See that? So this is micro iterations. Got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these are things that you want to break it down and so on and so forth. So all this is process, right? So you cannot do it in 1 week, which is ridiculous. So you have to prioritize, yeah, depending on the team size of the team. So you break down the task in proper, you undertake it, and you agree upon the task. Then you put it under your sprint. So once you have already what they call agreed upon your task here, then you shouldn't have any more adding in, unless if it's like extreme emergency for you to add on. Okay, you can't be too rigid lah, but the order the goal here is whenever you're doing sprint and so on and so forth, you don't want your staffs to burn out. Okay, so your performance level will increase rather than decrease, because per day you can only work maximum, or you can give the best of the best for working. Just focus on working 8 hours working, 6 hours max, that's it. That's your top performance,
Yeah.
right? Ken,
Yep.
Can.
any questions?
Nope.
So can we take about 10 minutes break?
Yep.
5
Cool.
minutes or 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Alright, I'll stop the recording for part 1, and then we'll come back and I will continue to give feedback and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you have any questions, please list it down, and as we come back, please you can shoot me the questions and I can answer you as much as I can. Yeah. Alright, good job guys, I will see you shortly.